Today is a special day, and you know why it's so special? Today is officially my 100th video on the channel. Well, technically a portion of those videos were all shorts, but if you consider all of my shorts as one video each, then yes, this would be my 100th video. I don't know if 100 videos feels like a lot or barely anything at all, but for a content creator whose content consists of 95% drawing and art, I guess 100 videos is a lot. And to honor reaching 100 videos, I thought I'd take this opportunity to discuss something about my channel that I feel like I didn't really get to discuss, and that's my animated series, A Fantasy. If you've been on my channel at least since last year, surely you know what I'm about to get into. If not, then welcome. I hope you enjoy hearing a random person on the internet talk about something you have absolutely no knowledge of. But don't worry, I got you covered. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my animated series, A Fantasy, an old project I made on this channel, plus how I created and developed it, my personal opinions on it, and any potential future plans I have for this series, if it does happen. So first things first, what is it about? To be honest, not too much. It's just a short little animation series I made for fun back in 2023 and finished nearly 2 years later, where it has my own character interacting with a bunch of my OCs I've designed to create a short little plot, because I thought it would be a pretty fun idea and a great way for me to practice a bit more animation than I'm usually comfortable with. And that's basically it. Now let's get into the details. Let's begin with how the series even started. There's actually been quite a lot of development with the characters and the story that happened behind the scenes that I feel like I never really got to dive into very much when I got to the final product. And there have been a lot of decisions I've thought of before and during production. But the very beginning of creating this series actually emerged way before I even started YouTube. And just like the name of this series suggests, it started as a fantasy. It started when I was back in high school and I was lonely, and the best way for me to cope was to imagine I had friends. I know, it sounds depressing, because it is. I started fantasizing about random scenarios in my head where I got to talk to people, and eventually those scenarios and people developed more and more. And keep in mind that all of this happened in my head. I never wrote it down, I never drew it out, I just kept thinking about it, that's all. And then I decided to turn those fantasy friends into actual OCs. I gave them names, personalities, and a character design. I used those designs as, I guess, placeholders whenever I fantasized, because I didn't like fantasizing about real people, so I just created my own. It was all something I kept to myself, until YouTube came into play. In 2023, I started using these characters I've created as background characters to kind of give the visuals of my videos more flavor. I began making that a consistent thing in this video heading onwards. And as soon as I started with this idea, I had an even better idea. I didn't want to just use these OCs as character designs. I want their names and personalities to really shine and be known by the audience. And that's how the animated series was created. And let me tell you, it took a lot of work to make each episode. Speaking of which, next, I want to briefly talk about the production of the episodes and how I planned it out, because a lot of things have changed. There are only 10 episodes, although I really wanted to do more, but considering how long it took for me to make just one episode at a time, this would have put more pressure on me to actually finish the series. I decided to narrow it down to 10, and my goal was to basically introduce each of the characters and give each of them to appear in at least 2 episodes to make sure that all characters have an equal chance to show their personality, with the exception of a few. I mapped this all out way before I started going through with the series. I wrote down which characters appear in which episode, which characters get introduced, and what the plot of the episode is going to be, so I can figure out how they can fit into the theme of the episode. And as for the plot, I did want to give this series a chronological plot, but again, I was worried I wouldn't have been able to finish it, so I just made it a more slice of life series instead, with some continuity. I did have to move things around and change the exact story of the plot, but the main premise of each episode stayed the same. The goal was to figure out how each character could be introduced. I do feel like I got better at that as the series progressed, which also explains why each episode gets progressively longer. I just have fun writing these scripts. I never know when to stop. Alright, now, I'm gonna get into probably the most fun part about developing this series, making the characters and their personalities, because a lot has actually changed. Before I start, I want to mention that in the description of this video, and the others, there is a link to a Google Doc that lists every single character I've made. I've created this doc for you guys to have easy access to all the characters and what they're like. I recommend checking it out if you want a simpler way to see all of them, but I'll be discussing them here too. Within the cast of A Fantasy, there are 24 characters, and this cast actually used to be smaller. There used to only be 6 of them. Then I doubled it to 12, then I doubled it again to 24, and then I doubled it once more to 48. In the doc, there are 48 characters total, but I'm only going to go over the first 24 because the other 24 aren't in the series. At least, not yet. Anyway, let's start with the first 6 that have been here since the beginning. The first 6 were Eddi, Lance, MC, Tiffany, Adam, and Lila. Let's start with Eddi, which is me, although not much can be said about me. The only kind of info I can give is that it used to not be me. At first, I felt weird having me in it because it felt like a self-insert, and at one point I thought of making a variation of myself to be in the series. I called him Edgar, although I scrapped that. Let's move on. Next, we have Lance, the very first OC I ever made, so he's special to me. Although in this series, his name was originally Lawrence. I changed it for simplicity and a bit more originality. Now, how did I create Lance? Lance is actually based on an existing character, and many of these other characters have been based on others too. Do you know the YouTuber Afmao? If you don't, she's a very famous Minecraft YouTuber known for her Minecraft gaming videos and her roleplays. I watched a lot of her content growing up and she's been an inspiration of mine. Lance is based on Lawrence because he was my favorite character, and so I wanted an OC based on him, and that's how Lance was made. Their designs may be similar, but their personalities differ. Lawrence is very smug and egotistical. Lance is a lot more friendly, but can sometimes come off as a little selfish. Now, why is Lance dressed like a knight? At first, I wanted to give him a more casual outfit, but I changed the theme of this series to be more fantasy-like, so I made him wear this. His outfit is based on the character Shezo from the Puyo Puyo series, another series that I really loved. I made Lance's outfit green because I just think green suits him the best. Next, we have MC. In the series, she was originally named Amanda. Why the name change? There's a bit of a significance in this. MC is also based on an Afmao character. She was based on Kawaii-chan. Kawaii-chan is known as a stereotypical anime fangirl who loves talking about her favorite ships and obsesses over people. Maybe a bit too much. When I made MC, I gave her that personality, but eventually I changed it so MC would be a bit more open-minded and mature, wanting to spread positivity and love to everyone. How does this connect to the name change? MC was still based on Kawaii-chan despite them now having completely different personalities. When she was still named Amanda, I wanted to give her a name similar to Kawaii-chan, so I called her Mandy-chan. In recent years, Kawaii-chan's name was shortened, likely to make her name easier to say and to avoid causing offense, because some people disliked Kawaii-chan as a character because it felt like she was representing a Japanese stereotype. They shortened her name to KC, so I decided to continue that trend. Mandy-chan's name was shortened to MC, and I really liked that name, so I decided to keep it. Also, why is MC an angel? Remember when I created Lance? I made him a knight because I wanted this series to be a bit more fantasy-like instead of real life. MC is a sweet character. Angels are sweet, so I'll make MC an angel. Although, plot-wise, I decided to give a deeper reason as to why MC is an angel. I won't go too in detail, but let's just say MC finally found happiness after becoming an angel. Okay, I know I'm talking so much about these two. I promise the next ones will be short. It's just that these characters were the first ones I made, so they have gone through a lot. Next, Tiffany. Since she was the second female character I made, I decided to pair her up with MC, although I don't think they'd have much of a dynamic now, considering there's more characters. Tiffany's sassy, poised, and what you'd call a diva. To add on to her personality, I made her the queen. Yeah, that's actually all I can really say about Tiff. Next, Adam. Adam's pretty much your stereotypical jock character, but I slowly tried to make him less of a stereotype. He actually used to be friends with Lance since he was the second male character I made, but knowing their personalities now, I don't think they'd get along. Adam loves to hang out with everyone. He can be aggressive and competitive, but deep down inside he has a lot going on. He just only has one way to show it. I wouldn't really consider Adam a himbo. He is dumb, but not himbo dumb. Now for the opposite of dumb, Lila. Lila's a geeky, nerdy science girl who loves learning about science and how the world works. In fact, her personality actually used to be very different. I eventually gave her old personality to another character I developed later, but we'll get to that in a minute. And that's the first 6 characters. Obviously, 6 is not enough, so I made 6 more. Next, Fred and Danny. I'm talking about these two together because these two are canonically brothers. The name Fred is actually based on an Animal Crossing villager named Fred. Why did I choose Fred? Honestly, I just liked the name and wanted to give a character an uncommon one. Fred's very flamboyant, overprotective, and quite assertive. Fred especially loves taking care of his younger brother, Danny. Danny is actually also based on an Afmao character. He's based on Daniel. The only thing they both have in common is that they're both adorable cinnamon rolls who are just completely innocent in the world. Next, Diana. Diana, believe it or not, is also based on an Afmao character. She's based on Lucinda. Lucinda is a witch and she brews potions, although Diana takes things differently. Diana is very spiritual, believes in the supernatural, and finds peace through collecting and understanding crystals. Her love of crystals is based on my brother, who also loved crystals. Next, Kim. Kim is a tomboy. She loves adventure, the great outdoors, she has a lot of energy, but she also has a soft spot for animals, and that's always stayed the same. Next, Hannah. Hannah is basically the opposite of Kim, as she's a girly girl and loves pretty cute things and has a passion for performative dancing, such as ballet and ribbon dancing. All the more reason to give Kim and Hannah a dynamic, since they're opposites. And remember what I mentioned before about Lila having a different personality? Yep, Lila originally had Hannah's personality. Weird, right? I decided to give that trait to a new character, Hannah, and changed Lila. And finally, and surprisingly, Pete. When I first made Pete, he was just going to be a broody goth kid, but I decided to treat him the same way I treated MC. He's not going to be a human. He's going to be a devil, to contrast MC. And that's officially the first 12 characters. And guess what? I still thought 12 wasn't enough, so I doubled it again. Since these characters were created later, there's barely been any development. Up next, we have Faith. Faith is a shy girl who's always kept to herself, and I eventually added onto her personality that she will be a bookworm, and although she's typically quiet, she won't shut up about her favorite books. Next, Cody. Cody is a magician who can perform all kinds of tricks and makes potions, and I love pairing science with magic, so Cody and Lila became a pair. Cody was originally going to be more gentle and kind, but there's too many nice characters, so Cody became more arrogant. 2 fun facts about Cody. Cody and Adam were at one point going to be brothers. That's been scrapped. Cody got the same treatment Hannah did. Cody was actually based on Danny's original personality. Danny used to be the magician. That's been moved to Cody since I think it doesn't fit Danny's personality. Next, Caroline. Carol is very outgoing and loves making new friends. Although she never knows how to stop talking, she has a really nice voice and is always the best at karaoke. Next, Rebecca. Rebecca's gentle and graceful, but can come off as rude and belittling others. She's basically the popular girl at school, but quiet. Next, Rowan and Morgan. These two are also canonically brothers. I made Rowan intentionally a jerk. He's a narcissist, he never understands other people's feelings, and only looks out for himself. He became the queen's servant because it's his only opportunity to have a high role and to look down on others. Morgan is quite the opposite. He's Rowan's older brother and has grown up having a difficult relationship with Rowan because Rowan's very hard to take care of. But Morgan decides to cool it down by focusing on his passion, which is music. Music and singing go together, so Morgan and Caroline became a pair. Next, Marcus. Not much about Marcus, he's just dedicated to fixing other people's problems and keeping the town spick and span. Next, Riley. Riley used to be an outdoorsy guy, and then he became the opposite. He's a gamer. Next, Anna. Anna's biggest talent is having a witty personality and making others laugh, which is why she's a comedian. But deeply, Anna used to be very shy and never knew how to talk to others. She overcame that when she stopped worrying about what anyone said about her. Next, Rachel. Not much about Rachel, I just needed a chef character who has a passion for cooking and learning about different cultures. Next, Harmony. I also needed a character who's passionate about art, so Harmony was made, and she's also quite the shy type who doesn't know how to be around others, but art's her passion and it makes her happy. And last but not least, Jermaine. Jermaine was made because he's a better contrast to Pete than MC. He's the leader of the Universal Realms. He's powerful, but don't be afraid, he loves you. And whew, that was every character in the entire cast of the series. 24 is honestly a lot more when you think about it. Damn, that actually took way longer than I thought. But anyway, that's the entire cast. The first few characters I made went through a lot more development because they were created first, and for the later characters, I just focused on giving them a distinct personality trait and worked my way around it. Characters are definitely the best part about making a series. But that's enough about the characters. I want to actually go back and look at everything that I've done in the past. I finally finished the series, basically the way I wanted it to. But how do I feel about it? Honestly, I have a lot of criticisms about this series, and I know many people will agree with me on this. But first, the positive things. I'm glad that I was able to make this series in general. It allowed me to practice heavier animation, storytelling, and a way to organize characters and plots. I feel like this series really gave me some experience that I probably wouldn't have been able to get to. Making it wasn't fun, but it feels worth it. But now, the criticisms. Number 1, I do wish this series had a consistent plot. There wasn't really a clear idea of what was going on, and I know I decided to make this series a slice of life. I still wish I could have dived into the fantasy aspect of the series. I only really got to that until the last episode. Number 2, I also wish I could have given the characters bigger personality traits than their primary ones. I know that would have been difficult because that would mean the episodes would have to be longer, and I know I tried doing that with some characters, like Adam and Anna, but if I had made the first few episodes longer, it would have done so much. Number 3, I feel like the execution of Lance breaking the fourth wall in episode 10 could have been so much better. I tried to push it in, and although it felt like a good idea in my head, I don't think it worked out the way I thought it would. What started out as a gag in episode 9, which was breaking the fourth wall, ended up becoming part of the lore in episode 10. Again, if I had introduced the fantasy aspect of the series earlier, this would have made more sense. And number 4, the obviously AI voices didn't work out as great as I thought. The voices were fun to play around with, but because they're AI, they have limitations. I know lots of people have been wanting to do voice acting, but with how many characters there are, it would be too much to handle, and I don't have the budget. But that's okay. I've been thinking about some alternatives. Overall, I'm happy that I got to make this series because of the experience I got out of it. The execution, however, I'm very not happy with it, and I know I can do better. So what's the plan for the future of A Fantasy? Well, I would like to come back to the series again. I was thinking of rewriting the entire series, but format it in a simpler manner to make the plot feel more cohesive, make the story longer and more in-depth, the characters have more screen time for development, and I don't completely burn myself out for making these videos, because these take way more time than my regular animated topics. The reason why I started regretting making this series was because it took way too much time and it gained barely any attention, which meant people probably didn't like it. But then I got so many comments nearing the end of the series demanding a continuation, so maybe some people really want this series to come back. Would I bring it back? I mean, I would like to, but I would also like to try and not overwork myself in making this series because, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun, but if people don't want to watch it, then it almost seems like making the series wasn't worth it. So, here's my proposal. Eventually, I would like to return to this series again, and I would like to rewrite the story, expand on the lore, the characters, and make each episode feel a lot easier to work with. And how do I plan on doing that? I've been looking into different formats for writing series, and here's what I've come up with. Instead of going into full animation, I'm gonna write it like a novel. More specifically, a visual novel. The story is written out like a novel, but you're given visual aids to get a clearer understanding of the story. Why I like this format is because there's less animation, and you can encapsulate so much in a story, but not limiting it to just words. And the best part, this is one of those formats that can be done by only one person. I think this would be a great idea to reintroduce the story in a less overwhelming way, and instead of using the AI voices, I will just narrate the story as it progresses. So you'll just be listening to me talk like I normally do in videos. Just this time, I'm telling a fictional story. But don't expect that these episodes are going to come out soon. My plan is, whenever I have time, I will work on writing the story, and once I finish writing it, then I can start putting it all together. This is just my initial plan, and I'm still thinking of having it go that way. But besides rewriting the series, is there anything else I wanted to make? The answer is yes. I would like to continue making more stories and maybe even do a season 2 after the rewritten version is finished. Maybe I can use the second half of the characters I made for the second season. Who knows? Well guys, what are your thoughts? Do you genuinely want me to write more stories and come back to this series? Because your opinions are really significant for helping me know whether making this series will be worth the wait. I mean, I still would like to work on this series when I have the time to, regardless, but I want to know what you guys think. Would you guys be invested in me making stories of my own characters, something that I can expand on based on what I've already done? Let me know. But other than that, I've basically covered everything that this entire series has done. This series was probably one of my biggest projects and one of the hardest videos I've ever tried making, especially episodes 9 and 10, since they were the longest, and both took me over a month to make. The reason why I've been so neglectful of this series was because so many other people were neglectful of it, but maybe I can still give this series a chance. Regardless of what anyone says, I would like to continue this series and bring it back, but I want to know if you guys want to see it too. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for all the support, and thanks for sticking around to watch my 100th video on this channel. That means a lot. See ya!